Hello everybody and welcome back to the show. I'm still in the Nether, and as you can see, I've been dying quite a bit. And at times it was frustrating and it seemed like I would never ever find what I needed. But eventually I did. I just had to suffer through the trials and tribulations of the Nether before I could find the sweet, sweet prize. I see it. Soul sand. But I still need to be able to get to it. And that could be as complicated as finding it. Soul sand, I found it. I didn't bring a shovel with me, but I can still get it. Yes. I only need really one, but I might as well collect up as much as I can while I'm here. Well, that was crazy. It wasn't quite as bad as going through a Doom-like dungeon, but man oh man is that Nether dangerous. Especially when you have no armor. My armor got destroyed. But I did end up with quite a decent haul. I found some more blaze powder, as well as a bunch of nether quartz. And I even got 2 more nether wart from something that I killed in there. As well as the soul sand and quite a lot of netherrack. I won't need that much netherrack, but it's always good to have it just in case. And I actually ended up with a silk touch shovel. That is pretty cool, and I definitely want to save that for a rainy day. I ended up with a golden sword too from a zombie pigman. Not that that's going to do me a lot of good, but you know, there it is. So yeah, that concludes my adventures into the Nether. Now I can plant my nether wart to get it growing, and I'm going to have to close off my portal there because things are going to leak through, and that trite right there will kill me unless I've got 2 arrows. How good is my aim? Let's find out. Haha, I got him. Cool. Okay, back to Botania. Now, this passive system I have set up here with the day blooms and the hydrangeas, that provides me with, you know, a steady stream of flower power, but not a lot, and it would take a long time to generate enough flower power to do much. So I've made over here 8 endo flames, and endo flames generate flower power based upon anything you can burn in a furnace except for lava. And I think that's anything. I know it works with charcoal and coal and wood, might also work with blaze rods, but I just, let's see, I want 8 of these and give it to them like that, and they will consume it, 1 for each of them, and then you can see it generates flower power at a much faster rate than the passive system over there. But of course the bad part being I have to keep providing them with the charcoal, so it's not a hands-off type of a system. But now that I have generated enough flower power, I can turn this ender pearl into a mana pearl, like that. And that will have used, well, didn't seem to use much of the flower power, but that's good. And now that I have a mana pearl, I can make a runic altar, which is made with the mana pearl and the living rock, just like so. You can also use a mana diamond instead of a mana pearl, but I have fewer diamonds than pearls, so that's why I'm using a mana pearl. The runic altar can then be placed down somewhere. I'm going to put it here for now. And you're going to want to use a mana spreader to be able to send flower power to the runic altar. Now, the runic altar doesn't store any flower power like the other items, so, or like, say, the mana spreader or the mana pool. So if you put a mana spreader next to this mana pool, it will take mana from it. And then I'm just going to bind it and aim it right at the altar like so. And there you go. Now, it will not actually send any of this flower power, as I said, to the runic altar until the runic altar needs it. Now, we use the runic altar to make, well, runes. That's why it's called a runic altar. And there are multiple kinds of runes. I'm going to go inside and get ready to sleep. If we look in the Lexica Botania under the runic altar, you will see that there are all kinds of runes that can be made, and they require these different items. So there are 4 elemental runes, water, earth, air, and fire. Then there are 4 seasonal runes, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And then there are just a bunch of other runes that are various kinds. So we need to make some runes in order to get to our next step with Botania. The first rune I want to make is the rune of air. And you can see it's made on a runic altar, and it requires 3 mana steel ingots, a piece of string, a feather, and a piece of carpet. Now, to make mana steel ingots, we take iron ingots and put them into the mana pool, like so. And you can do more than one at a time. If I drop both of these in there, you can see I got both of them back, and now I have the 3 mana steel ingots. And I've already collected up a feather, a string, and a carpet. Now all you got to do is take these items and right-click it on the runic altar. You can do it in any order, it doesn't really matter. And then you will see them floating around the runic altar, like so. Now we take the Wand of the Forest and right-click on the runic altar, and what that will do is it will basically then try to collect flower power from this mana spreader, which will take it from this mana pool. So you'll start to see the bursts of mana coming through. Remember, this green line just shows the path that it travels. It doesn't actually show, it's not actually showing mana traveling through it until you see it fire through in bursts. Let's see. For example, let's do this. There you can see the lines going through, shows what path it takes. But here you can see if I don't hold the Wand of the Forest, you don't see the path it takes. And if I take some charcoal and give it to these flowers, once they consume it, there we go. Now you'll see those are the actual bursts of flower power being sent. So don't get confused by the line which just shows you the direction it travels. Anyway, so we right click on the altar and you'll begin to see flower power being sent to the runic altar. When the runic altar has consumed enough flower power, it will start giving off some bouts of electricity. I can also see, holding my Wand of the Forest over it, that there is a little icon, looks like a little circle, and it's slowly filling up blue. That is something new I haven't seen before, but that's pretty neat. Does show sort of the progress that's going on with the runic altar. Okay, so it's getting close to being done. Looks like a few more bursts should finish it off. And once it gets there, as I said, you'll see this lightning sort of effect coming out of the runic altar. Now all you have to do is take a piece of living rock to become the rune, throw it on top, and then right click again with your Wand of the Forest. And there they are. I have 3 runes of air. And that's how you use the runic altar to make runes. It's actually a fairly simple process, all things considered, but it does take the materials that you need, as well as quite a bit of the flower power. So I'm going to continue on making the various runes that I need for the next step. Some runes require other runes in order to make them. So for example, the rune of autumn requires these 3 oak leaves, a spider eye, as well as a rune of fire and a rune of air. So you sometimes have some nested creation of runes that you have to make in order to get to what you want. And some runes require expensive components, like mana diamonds. This one requires 2 of them, as well as a rune of air and a rune of autumn. And this is the reason why I needed to find 4 diamonds, because I need to make these special runes that require mana diamonds. Okay, I have a bunch of petals and some runes, and even something called a redstone root, which is made with a piece of redstone and grass. It's the main reason why I needed to find a piece of redstone while I was searching the Doom-like dungeons. All I gotta do is drop in my seed, And now I have something called the orchid. Okay, the orchid is the first functional flower that I've made. And remember I said at the beginning that the generating flowers create flower power. The functional flowers use that flower power for a purpose. In order for the orchid or pretty much any other functional flower to work, it does need a source of mana somewhere nearby it. I've put this mana pool right next to it, as you can see. I just need to find a way to make mana come over to it. I'm going to do that by putting down a mana spreader there and linking it up like so. I think I missed it. There we go. And there we go. So now it will send mana to this mana pool here, which it seems to be doing. And this, it is doing it. And this orchid will then use the flower power stored in the mana pool in order to achieve what it can do. And I will have to find a way to show you what it can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this stone down right here. And using the orchid will use a lot of flower power, so it may take a while before I see a result here. And there you can see what the orchid does. It takes any stone around it in a certain radius and it turns it into an ore, hence the name Orchid. I had to dig all this out. I thought it wasn't working at first, but it turned out it turned this one into iron and a couple of these into what I think is tin, and this one also, I believe, into copper. But as you can see, it can also make diamond. It will make gold ore, redstone ore, iron ore. Put down another stone so it has something to work with. Obviously, it'll make iron, tin, copper. It'll make coal ore. I'm not exactly sure what all ores it will make. I know it does make some of the modded ores as well. So yes, now I have an orchid. It is very, very slow process. It takes a lot of flower power in order to turn a stone into an ore. I'm not exactly sure how many pieces of charcoal I've had to go through, mainly because, again, I wasn't sure it was actually working at first, and I had to dig out this pit in order to find where it had turned some stone into various ores. Oh, creeper over there. Hello, creeper. Come to say hi. As long as you're not Martian Mafia. Diamond is, of course, rare. It's more likely to give you things like coal ore. The rarer the ore, the less likely you will be to get it. So that explosive type sound was the sound of it producing another ore. And I think it may have made this one here, that iron one. I think that's the range of it. It does appear that maybe 16 pieces of charcoal in these endo flames might be enough to make it work. I'm not exactly certain, again, how much it takes. I know it does take a lot. But this is what I will be using to obtain the ores that I need. Sadly, it's very random. I don't have any control over what I will get, so I will have to continually mine up what is here in order to obtain the various raw materials that I will need. What I need right now is a bunch of iron, because I really don't have that much. I still have what I found in the Doom-like dungeons, but it's not a ton. But I'm going to need a lot more iron, because my next step is to get into Ender.io, the technology mod, primarily because I cannot automate this process without it. I think I can with it, at least I hope so, we'll find out, but it'll be a start anyway if I have a bunch of iron. Give my endo flame some more charcoal there. And there you see it made me some copper ore, which is not extremely useful to me right now. Well, actually, I guess I will need it for Ender IO. But there you have it, using the orchid to obtain the ores that do not naturally occur in the world. That is what the orchid does. And that is some of the basics of Botania. We talked about the flowers that create flower power, and the flowers that use flower power for various effects, and how to move that flower power around with mana spreaders and mana pools using a runic altar in your petal apothecary, etc., etc. So I hope you like that real basic introduction to Botania. Now I have a way to gather up the necessary ores that I'm going to need in order to continue on, and hopefully in the next episode I'll be able to get started with Ender IO. But it'll probably take a while before I can get there because I'm going to need to dig up a bunch, or mine up a bunch of iron, and that's with this process, and it seems to take about 16 charcoal for each item I get, and of course what I get is random, so it'll take me a little bit. Anyway, I'm rambling on, but that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Oh no! I have fallen out of the tree again. I sure wish there was a way with Botania that I could heal myself.
But there is.
Who said that?
I did.
Mr. Chicken? What do you know about Botania?
We chickens are very in touch with nature, though you might not think so to look at us.
Oh yeah? Well, if you're so smart, how do I use flower power to heal myself?
That's simple. You make a Fallen Kanade.
What is that?
Look in your book.
Wow, it says here that the Fallen Kanade will give me a regeneration effect. That's cool.
Yes, it is. So why don't you make one?
I did, and it's right here.
Great. Now put it down next to any source of flower power.
How about right here?
That's perfect. And you're already healing up.
That is so amazing. Now I can jump out of trees all day long.
Silly human.